What up, everybody? Welcome to the Grit and Grind Show, brought to you by the Off the Bench podcast. I am Daniel Ball, and I am your host. And today we got another good one. Another 2024 United Grid League All-Star. Chelsea Raineri is stopping by to talk to us about her journey, talk to us about the 2024 season, and we got to know what's in store for 2025. But obviously, before she goes, y'all know what I got to do. I got to pay the bills, got to plug the sponsors, make sure that we can continue to put out this good content. Chinook Seedery, whether you're on the field or in the boardroom signing deals, Chinook helps you get the job done. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go pick up your bag wherever you go to your grocery store, wherever you go to get gas, your local convenience store. They all got them. Trust me, pick up the bags. Relief Chiropractic. Go visit Dr. Vic Robinson. He's got the magic hands. He's rejuvenating people. He's adding years to their life. I'm telling you, if you're feeling bad, you're not feeling the same, go stop in, get a consult. And I'm telling you, he's got a plan that will be perfect for you. We got, the one, the only. It's the holidays are over, but that doesn't mean you can't still pick up a beautiful, tasty bottle of your favorite adult beverage of choice. Old Dominic Distillery, 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis. From bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin, Old Dominic's got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or to pick up your favorite bottle. And finally, Memphis City Designs. Get brands, gear, and logos on everything from shoes to underoos. Get you in off the bench gear while supplies last. It's baseball season. You know what that means. You got to get your colors. You got to get your brands. You got to get your team's gear. So no better place than to get that from Memphis City Design. And with that, the bills have been paid. I've done my due diligence. So now we can bring on to the show with the biggest interview in podcasting this week, Southwest Florida Sharks star Chelsea Raineri. Chelsea, what up? What up?
Hi, how are you?
I am great. It's very rare that I meet somebody and get to talk to somebody who our career paths are we're on a similar trend. And I see you're in your office. I'm surprised that you have a little bit of quiet time, because if you know anything about working in a school, those are few and far between to find. So you probably are in the gym somewhere, like in a storage closet. Like, I know how that works. I know where your offices end up having to be.
Yeah, my actual office is a shared office of 4 other staff members. So we have a female PE office and a male. But I also have the luxury of getting to coach high school gymnastics, and so I have my own office by
Oh
myself.
man.
There are some we do a kindergarten school activity day, and so there was just about 30 kindergartners running around in the dance room next to me.
Nice.
They all looked at me and they said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We're in your space." And they're so cute. They're adorable, but they just
It's
left. So the music has stopped, which is always good. We were just bumping to the Kids Bop and the Coco.
a
Mello.
absolutely. You can't, if you have kids or you work with kids, you're going to be a fan of Kids Bop and Coco Melon and
Oh
those different things. The one thing I was curious about, you just brought it up, and I didn't know this, but you were a high school gymnastics teacher. What you may not know is that our other show on the podcast, we are a college gymnastics podcast. So we do college baseball, college gymnastics, and then I have the Grid and Grind show where I talk about grid. Now, with that, we have a lot of athletes that do gym, and they opt out of the high school realm of it and go to their own gym and kind of do their own thing. Is that something that this is, or is this specifically school related gymnastics?
yeah. So I actually, for 5 years, was the assistant coach for the women's gymnastics team at George Washington University.
Let's go.
Previously. So I was able to compete there from 2013 to 2017. After I graduated, I went to work professional sports, wanted to get back into coaching gymnastics. And my head coach at the time called me and said, "Hey, I have a job for you. It's in DC." And I said, "Oh, great. What is it?" And she said, "You're going to work with me." And immediately it's like, okay, like I need to find a place to live. I need to go. So I got to live out my dream of coaching college athletics for 5 years. And then when COVID hit, I saw there was a huge gap for our young students who don't have the opportunity to go and coach or be a gymnast in college or go and do a higher level of sport, and they just were crushed physically and mentally. And they said that the educators they had were weird and putting lotion on their legs in the middle of class, and just
Oh,
things that I was
Lord.
appalled by. And I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, I'm going to quit at the end of the season. I'm going to become a teacher." And she was so on board. I mean, she definitely tried to get me to stay. She was like, "Are you sure you want to go?" But I've loved, this is my first year teaching high school, actually. But to answer your question, the high school gymnastics, I grew up in Pennsylvania doing gymnastics, so there was no high school gymnastics. It was banned. But in Virginia, most of the girls are either an Excel gymnast or they did JO, which is now developmental program, and then they quit that because they want to do other things. And so we do have girls that were level 10s that are competing at the high school level. And then you have girls that have never done gymnastics before and they want to do a high school sport and they join the team and they actually learn higher level skills. So I dabble in a little bit of all of it. I still will coach occasionally at the club gym I was at, but my main focus has been the grid league and CrossFit for myself personally. And so transitioning from college athletics to teaching high school PE and sports medicine, I get to work in special ed as well and do adapted physical education, has been awesome for training and awesome for myself personally, but also the impact that you get to have on these students before they embark into whether they go to college or they do something else has been incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely a rewarding profession in a sense that you feel a lot of pride once you see what you mold and what they do, and a lot of times it's a lot like coaching. It can be a thankless job at some points, but there's always this point in time where someone at some point comes back to you and they tell you thank you, and that's what it's about right there. When you get into it and you get that, it doesn't have to be, gifts or rewards. It's that thank you, that hey, I heard you, even though you didn't think I heard you. I heard you. You
Yeah.
know. But you talked about being in DC. You talked about being living in Pennsylvania growing up. Where are you currently?
Currently, I'm in um, Falls Church, Virginia. So that's about 15 minutes outside of DC.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I've been hearing from everyone, and it just blows my mind. This, but I think it just kind of attests to the strength and the really the uniqueness of what grid offers, is that you have players that are nowhere near where the team is located technically, that they play for, and they're able to do it all, practice remotely, show up for matches, and get after it and do their thing. And even some people are traveling for practices on a weekly basis. Obviously those are not as far as you are from your team, but they still make that happen. And I ask, what was your journey into fitness? Obviously, you were a gymnast at some point, but
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily always go, hey, you need to, when you're done doing that, you need to start lifting weights or start doing this or start doing CrossFit. So for you, when did fitness jump into your life?
Yeah. So I started gymnastics when I was 3 and was just in love with it. I did all this, you try all the sports. You try gymnastics for a little and then you do soccer and t-ball and basketball. And by age 6, I'm one of 6 kids. And
Wow.
so you have to decide, what are you going to do? And my family was the most supportive. I mean, we didn't have we definitely had a lot of financial struggles, and so it was, my fitness journey almost didn't happen. I think I was 10 years old. My sister was diagnosed with cancer. My parents were like, "You can't do sports like we just can't pay for anything." So I went and I quit. And that same day, my coach, her name's Miss Maya, this little Bulgarian lady, showed up at my door and said, "She's not allowed to quit. I'm going to pay for her tuition this whole year. She can't miss a year. Like she has a chance to do something really big, whether she wants to go the Olympic route or she wants to go the college gymnastics route. I don't want her to stop." And if it wasn't for her, I would not have done anything that I was able to do. So I always think,
How do you take that as a 10-year-old now? I
yeah,
mean, like, I would like to think, like, as like, I have a 7-year-old, and I know
mhm,
her maturity level, and if
yeah,
I was to be like, "Hey, here's the situation, here's what's going on, you're not gonna be able to do this anymore." I don't think her maturity level right now, maybe at 10, but not at 7, like, it wouldn't be
yeah.
there. She wouldn't quite grasp the idea of and the reasoning behind it. So as a 10-year-old, do you understand the reasoning, like, why you have to quit, or are you just like, "Well, shit, like, I guess I'll just do whatever you tell me to do?"
Yeah. So at that point, I I knew where we were at. I mean, I'm number 5 of the 6, so I've seen, I have older siblings that would kind of talk to me about things that were going on. And for me, I would always wake up. I was always thirsty in the middle of the night. So I'm like, oh, I need more water. So I'd always go downstairs and I would see my parents at the table, like as I creep down the stairs, looking at the finances and talking about where we were at. And so seeing that, and then my dad working. Oh, my mom would work through the night and my dad would work through the day. And we were never in daycare. We were always like, my parents said, no, we are going to do this no matter what it takes. And so that was the standard that my family set at a very young age. And so when I knew something was wrong, I was like, okay, that means I need to do something that's going to benefit the family. And it always was about the family. I don't think my brothers would agree. They'd be like, oh, Chelsea got whatever she wanted. They always say that, even to this day. Like, I didn't go home for Thanksgiving this year. And my younger brother, his name's Michael, called me. He was like, it's so great. No one even mentioned your name. Like, just like so rude. I'm like, you're
That
literally, uh,
see, that's a typical youngest sibling
yeah.
response right there, like, that's what I would do because 'cause I'm the youngest of my family, and I would throw that out there, be
Yeah.
like, "Look."
So they're and I love all I have 4 brothers and a sister. I love them all very much. And so yeah, at that age, I think I was able to grasp it just because it was presented, little things along the way had been presented in such a way that was, oh, okay, we need to work together. We need to stay united. We need to work as hard as we possibly can. And we just don't quit. And my dad would always say, yeah, you're in Raineri. We don't quit. We make it happen. You just make it happen. And so I embodied that into sport. And because of Miss Maya and being able to continue to do gymnastics, there was a point I had won like the level 9 national Eastern championship and was invited then to Caroli's Ranch. And at that point, it was, do you want to go the Olympic route or do you want to go the college gymnastics route? And for me, going the Olympic route would mean I would have to leave my whole family and move far away and get a sponsor family and live in Texas. And I didn't want to leave my family. My family is way too important to me. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go for college gymnastics. Um, I was very fortunate. I committed to a different school at first. And then when I went on my official visit, it was not what I had anticipated it to be. So I uncommitted my senior year and thought, you know what, if I have to do a gap year and find a way, I'll find a way. And luckily, Margie from George Washington University saw me and I went for a visit. And at the end of the visit, she's like, I'm going to offer you a full ride. And I just remember crying, just like broke down crying because I was like, okay, we made it happen. Like everything, my family, my parents, my coaches, my siblings, like every person that has supported me. Like it was all worth it at that point. And
Yeah,
so that was probably
it's
the most pivotal point in my career, other than Miss Maya giving me the opportunity to continue gymnastics, Margie bringing me on as an athlete at GW, which is a very high academic institution, was incredible to
yeah,
say the least.
it's crazy that if you could put yourself back at the age of 10 and going through that, you would have probably never thought like you would have even had the opportunity to compete at another level or even at a college level. And here you are, like now you're able to say, well, I went there, I was on a full ride. And like, it just proof to when people say it takes a village, it really does sometimes. It takes a lot of care of a lot of people. And, you have to be ready when the time is called for you. And it seems like every opportunity that was presented to you that someone was like, hey, I want you to do this, you were ready to answer the call. And,
Mhm.
that's kind of where I want to take the interview now is okay, so you finish up gymnastics, and I would assume at some point you've got to scratch the competitive itch. And I think,
Yeah.
I from what I hear everyone tell me, myself included, because I was a baseball guy, and once I got out of college and I realized I didn't have a professional baseball career anymore, I said, well, what is it that's going to get me going? So of course I go into a Globo gym and I start doing this, and I said, man, this really ain't it. Like, I can lift some weights and talk to some people and enjoy my just the ability to work out, but like, there's got to be more to it. And then what do you know? I moved to Tampa and I see a CrossFit gym, and it was kind of all over there from
You're
there.
stuck in.
So what do you do once gymnastics is over? Do you immediately know about CrossFit and you go, that's what I'm doing? Was CrossFit something that you knew about prior to, the end of college? Or was it something that someone like said, hey, hold my hand and let me drag you into this place?
So I unfortunately, my senior year of college, I tore my labrum in my shoulder. And so I was thankfully I was able to still compete the whole year. We ended up winning conference championships. I won NCAA regionals on vault and advanced to the national championship. And I said, if I can do this with a torn shoulder, there's not much I can't do. I have to believe that any opportunity I get, I need to seize it. And with that, I lost my health insurance, unfortunately, after I graduated, because you're on like the school's insurance, and
Yeah.
my family lost their health insurance. And so I didn't do PT like the right way. I had my athletic trainer at the time. She was amazing. She sent me everything I needed to do. And so I was that girl in the Planet Fitness on the Stairmaster and doing hip thrusts. And I was like, well, I'm going to just keep myself moving because I couldn't use my arm. And I had my friend Alyssa, she's such an extremist. She's like, hey, you can't use your arm. That's fine. We're going to run a 10 miler and we're going to do the Spartan race. And we're going to do this. And I was like, the Spartan race, you have to use your arm. So I did the Spartan race. I think I cried like 3 times. Like, I had never felt so out of shape in my life. And everyone was like, oh, you're a gymnast, you got to do CrossFit. And I was like, no, absolutely not. F that. Like, every gymnast is CrossFit. I'm not going to be like everyone else. I'm going to find something else that I want to do. So I literally tried everything under the sun. I hate running. I'm 4'11". Like, my legs are little. Running's just not my thing. I did it anyway. I'm actually supposed to run a marathon with my brother in November, allegedly. Let's see if that happens. But
You
I
got
just,
this. You
I
got
just
this.
like, I don't know. So when I started coaching at the college level, our volunteer assistant was like, hey, you should come to this CrossFit class with me. Like, it'll be fun. And I literally, for the first like 4 months, I was like, stop asking me. I'm not going. It's not going to happen. And then I was like, okay, whatever. Shoot, like, I'll go to the class. And so I go to it was at PR Star in Chantilly, Virginia. And the coach's name was Cameron Curry, who then for the 5 years had been my CrossFit coach. So much energy. Like, we vibed the same way. We were both originally from PA. We were just having a great time. And he was like, hey, sit on the rower. I was like, I've never done a rower. He's like, just row like 500 meters. I was like, okay. So I rode 500 meters, and the rest of the class is doing like a 2K test. And I'm just sitting there like waiting. And he comes over and he looks, and I finished in like 155. And he was like, wait, just keep going. Go to 2K. I'm like, you told me to stop at 500. I didn't know what to do. So I immediately just like, I loved the coach. I loved the environment. I started to go to class regularly, but I never touched the barbell. Like, I would always avoid classes with barbell because I was just so afraid with my shoulder that I would hurt myself, or I didn't really know how to properly lift. But that's where I started my CrossFit journey. And at first it was like, oh, he's like, try ring muscle up. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And he's like, you were a gymnast. I'm like, we didn't use the rings. Like, we're girls.
Isn't
And
that
like,
crazy? Like, how
yeah,
if you're a gymnast, it's immediately you should be able to walk on your hands, handstand push-ups, bar muscle ups.
oh
You
yeah,
should be able to do that the day
you just
you
do
walk in.
it, which is ridiculous. But it was funny. I like jump up, I make a ring muscle up. And he's like, you're a liar. There's no way you can do that. And I was like, I have really good body awareness. I don't know. So then everyone in class is like, you're a cheater. I was like, I spent 22 years like busting my ass trying to be a college gymnast. I did not cheat. I just
No.
put a lot of effort in. But you start doing it, and then everyone's like, "Oh, the Open's here." I was like, "Oh, well, what's that?" They're like, "Oh, it's like an online competition." I was like, oh, okay, like that sounds fun. Like, let's do it. And then I do the open and I was just like, this is life. Like, this is awesome. You get to compete against people. Not like a year later.
When was this? Was this when they were actually doing like big time like open announcements or
Yeah, so this was I think my first open because I started CrossFit in 2018. So it was that I started like October of 2018 is when my first class was. So then I did the open
yeah.
here. And it was still they were still doing more of like the open stuff. And at the gym, they made an intramural team and they would select one person to do once the announcement happened, like you did it live through Facebook. And so after doing that, I was like, okay, I want to do this. Like I'll compete for fun, for fun. This will be fun. And then you do one comp and you're just like, I want to destroy everyone.
Yeah.
So I started I started working. I actually switched gyms at the time. Um, I started going to Verity CrossFit, which is if you know the name Monroe Miller, he owns Verity. He's like super awesome guy, super big in like the Instagram, TikTok world, and does amazing things at his gym. So I was there, and at that point, he's like, "Hey, do you want to do teams?" So we did MacFest, RX Plus, and like kind of got buried, and then we did the Open that year, and we advanced to the team quarterfinal. And unfortunately, we had some video reviews that kind of pushed us out
Yeah.
for the semifinal. But at that point, I was like, okay, I want to do this more competitively. I would love to do team. I'd love to do NDE. Like, I'll go wherever. Team camaraderie is just really important to me. So I did that. And then I had just, with college gymnastics, it was the best, but it always happened then. Like, quarterfinals was the week of our conference championships. And then last year I suffered a massive eye injury the day before quarters started for individual. And I was on 12 Labor's Cerebrus team as their alternate for team. Um, and I met a bunch of just like incredible people along the journey. But to get to the Grid League, I had met Sammy Nally at the MacFest when I did it with the team with Verity. And I was like, oh my God, this girl's my hero. Like, this girl's like strong as anything. Just like she was a gymnast. I was like, oh my God, like I could be that one day if I just work really hard. And not only that, but then I guess this is my second year in Grid. So then 2 years ago, I get a message in my DMs on Instagram from Sammy. And I commented all over stuff like hard eyes. And I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. Like, I'm super fangirling over Sammy. She's like, hey, I think you should join our Grid team. And I thought about it once before. I had been seeing someone who was doing Grid, and he was like, you could try it, but like, I don't know if it's for you. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. But she said, hey, I want you to try Grid. My coach is going to reach out. So Nick Habits reaches out. And I was like, hey, I don't know if I want to join the Grid League. Like, I'm really hesitant. Like, I had like very specific reservations. And he's like, okay, like I get it. Like, we'll talk in the future. And then he calls me 2 days later. He's like, I just sent you your contract. You're signing it. Like, you don't have
Oh,
a
okay.
to it. And so for me, I looked at that as this opportunity has resurfaced 48 hours later. That's a sign, just go for it. And it was incredible. I mean, for me, I'm competing with Sammy Nally and Nick Shappy and Shakeen, and all the girls were just super fit. All the guys were super jacked. Like, everyone there has an elite mindset. Oh,
No,
sorry. Time to go.
like
Um,
that bell, like
you get anxiety?
it has many different tones depending on what school you're at, but like you know when you hear that semblance of tone, like you know what's going on. There's gonna be a lot of kids going out in the halls and a passing.
There's going to be a warning bell also that sounds weird, and then there'll be another bell in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
it's fine. It's fine.
but yeah, so just being there, I thought, okay, doing Grid is going to help promote my CrossFit, right? It's going to give me higher agility, like being able to do heavier weights under a short amount of time. And I was brought on as a body weight specialist. And it was awesome. By the second match, I had gained like I think I gained like 5 or 6 pounds, like in muscle. I was like trying to get stronger. And I come back and Nick Habit's just like, what did what did you do? Like, what did you eat? Did you eat a house? Like, look at you. Like, oh, you're strong. Like, you're gonna be in the ladder this one. I was like, oh shoot. So then I feel like I'm more of a utility player at this point, but he was like, you're gonna be in every race in this one match. And I was so excited and it was so painful, but I loved like every moment of it. Like the whole switching shoes and like shoving gummies down your throat. And then it's like, okay, you got 30 seconds. And just having the mental capacity to not only push yourself, but knowing that the person next to you is pushing just as hard. It just reminded me so much of college gymnastics where it's like, hey, if you mess up, it's okay, I got your back. And the vibe that we have on our team, I just think is so special because it's never, oh, I should be in there, like, oh, I should be in this race. Like I've never heard any of that come out of anyone's mouth. It's always, hey, I'm so proud of you, but I'm coming for you. Like I'm coming for you. Like you better keep getting fit because I'm trying to be just as fit as you. Um, so it was always a positive pressure of let's lean into each other. And anyone that had a strength or a weakness, like Sammy and Nick were like, hey, let's help you with your pistols. Like, here, I have this program, do this. Like, I think this will help you. And it's all about how well can the team do. It's never about an individual. And I think that's the biggest difference between gymnastics and grid is that the individual matters. I mean, you have those ringer races and those are really important, but it really is whatever you are doing, like it could negatively or positively impact the team. And I feel grid was just the first year was definitely a whirlwind. And then the second year I was like, okay, like let's push it. Like let's see like what else can we do? What else can I do that's not just handstand push-ups or triple touches or butterfly ring muscle ups? And so I feel like after doing my second year in the grid league, this year I even said to Fico, I was like, I'm gonna be able to do every race. Like I'm gonna hit every bar and I'm gonna be every race. Maybe not the push press because a 210-pound push press, I only weigh 130 pounds. That might not happen for me.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go for it.
Hey, but see, it's another one of those things like you with gymnastics and then you find CrossFit and now you have grid, like you're throwing yourself into it. And I think it's partly because a lot like me, like I have to be busy doing something. Like maybe it's like an addictive personality that I have that I don't know that I have. And it's like, well, I'd rather be doing these positive things than some negative things that could be very detrimental. So
Yeah.
like, but I feel you. You get in, you're all about it. You're team first, it shows because I don't know how you guys did the first season you were there, but last season,
Mm.
you're an all-star and you guys make it, you're the number one seed going into the playoffs. You are, you make it to the championship. Like you don't do those things without people constantly growing, getting better, having this great team culture. So I'll ask you just, going through the 2024 season, what were some of your highlights and did you expect to be as great of a team as you were that season before it had started?
Yeah. So when Fico took over the team after Nick left, he was very clear. He's like, these are the instructions. We're here to win. If you aren't here to win and you're just here to have a good time, there's the door. Um, but we're going to treat this like a business and we're going to work to help you guys as much as we can financially and treat this like a true professional team. And I think with that, and I mean, the Grid League in itself, I mean, they upped like they're streaming and you can see the points and you can do like the Grid League is pushing and I think is at the forefront of trying to push past like we're not just this crazy league. Like we are a professional league. We have professional athletes. We have real, true integrity in what we do. And I think I said it to Mathers a few weeks ago. I called him and left him a voicemail. I was like, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And yeah, there's always room for improvement. If you're not trying to improve, then what are you doing? But I saw just in that 1 year such a huge difference in the community and with Vegas happening and teams not being able to come out and making a super team. Like they're like, no, we're going to make this happen. And we're going to push the forefront. Like, we're not going to quit on anything. And so that's part of the reason why I love being in the United Grid League. I think it's incredible. And from the get-go, we were just, hey, send your videos. And we were just positively, I'd be like, hey, I just did the mirror after the first match. Like, the next day I'm in the gym. I was like, here's the mirror. Like, here's me, body weight specialist, strength specialist, where are you at? And we just start calling. We're nonstop calling each other out. And, you know, it's not perceived negatively. It's like, hey, Chelsea, you didn't hit depth on those last 3 reps. Like, that's going to have us lose the race. Like, make sure you're hitting depth. It's like, okay, got it. Like, everything that you're getting back, the feedback, the critiques, it's all because we collectively want to win.
Right.
And so we were just like, no one's taking shit personal. Just go for it. And after every match, we just kept going. And I think the way FICO's get structured everything, you know, we're more than half of our team is not in Florida. And so we had group calls. We would go through all the movements. We would go through the playbook. We would be sending videos constantly. He's like, if you want to be in this race, I need to see videos. And he would send every individual athlete, like, here are all the things I need you to test, and I need by this date. And I need to know how you really feel. Because if you're like, there's no way, like, if you're like, yeah, I can do it, but you really can't, like, that's going to hurt the team. And so we really just put ego aside and just went for it. And I think that's why we were so successful. And when things weren't going our way, we took a second and we were like, okay, smooth as fast, like, control we can control. I can't control the ref or the judge. I can't control those things or the other team, but I can control what I do. And
It's awesome that, you know, well, my coaching background, you know, my best teams, and, you know, when I coached at University of Tampa, the year that we won a national championship, it wasn't necessarily the talent wise the best team. It was the team that held each other accountable. The coach, the expectation and the standards were there. The players themselves held everyone accountable to meeting those things. And it sounds like you guys throughout the 2024 season, like, that was a big change from the season before, is that you have each other that are holding yourselves accountable. Hey, Chelsea, you need to get a little bit lower on those pistols or whatever it is, because if not, that could be the one thing that hinders us from being able to win. Because in grid, like, it's not a matter of being able to do the movements, because 99% of the movements that are thrown out there, whoever's put in the position can do that movement. It's just how fast can you do it? How efficiently can you do it? And so, like, depth and being, you know, not getting faulted on movements matters, and it matters huge. Um, but for you, obviously, you guys are not really practicing, so to speak, together. It's more of a remote thing. You're sending in videos, and, you know, my question is all right, well, how do you navigate once you're at, you know, match day and everyone's there together? Now all of a sudden, the movements and the person that you see on video, now they're face to face, and you now have to communicate different things to them. So how does that work? Like, was there a learning curve in the beginning and you kind of figured out how to make those communications sharp towards the end, or was it just something that you guys were able to pick up because you guys are professional?
So it was a little bit of both. We would do a Zoom call with everyone on the call, and it's like, okay, here's the first race. 3, 2, 1, go. You 3 are going here. You're doing this. Next movement, you're doing this. Like, he literally did a play-by-play of the whole match via Zoom. So then it's like, okay, we all ask questions. We get on the same page. Then before the match, we would show up like 2 hours before the match, and we would do a physical run through, like, not like lifting the weights and everything, but we'd be like, stand by, race, and you would run out, and it's like this, okay, switch, this, okay, switch. So then we would do the run through prior to warm up, so that if there was miscommunication, it was attacked right before we would go. And then in the moment, he would even say, it's like, hey, these are the people in the race, but you, like, Chelsea, you need to be ready to jump in if this person's dying. So it was always, every person knew exactly what they were supposed to do and at what time. And if there was a plan B, this is where we're going. And so that really, I think, the more you communicate, the more you talk about what's happening, the better you'll be for efficiency. And so I think for me as a second year grid athlete, I was like, okay, I know how these matches work now. Like I know how each race works. I know this, I know that. And we had a team of veterans. I mean, you have Roderick Holloway, you have Sammy Nally, you have Nick Shappy, you have Sam Martin, you have all these athletes who have been doing grid for years and years and years. And everyone on our team, like there was no real rookie except for Gio. And that was tough because he only speaks Spanish, but he's like so fit that they were like Conce and Fico were like yelling in Spanish at him, like where to go and what to do. But our whole team was just stacked with people who like really knew their role and really knew the rules. And so I think that was really critical in us being able to perform the way that we do. And, it's, you had mentioned it's not the best team that wins, it's a team that competes the best. And so, like when we talk about the championship match, I mean, either team could have won. It could have been the Wild, it could have been us, but the Wild competed better. The
Right.
Wild dialed it in better. Like they earned the championship. Period. That's just how it was. Like we did not rise to the occasion at the end. I mean, I think it could have been great if at the rerun of the male triad, if we went into sudden death. I just think that would have been sick just to like go on
Yeah.
sudden death. Like that's like super entertaining. I think it would have been really hype for both teams, but they earned it. Like period. There's no, oh well, but it's like no, I'm not about that. Like, and I don't know people that were saying things like that, but for me it was like they won. Period. That's
Was
it.
there anything that when you look back on that championship match, you go, it was just their day and they went out and took it? Or was there any one thing where you were like, yeah, if we would have done this and this better or differently, we may would have had a chance? Because there's no guarantee that, you make changes and it makes a
Yeah.
difference. But, when you look back and reflect on it, there might have been some things where you're like, man, I should have done this a little bit faster, or we should have done this, and it may have made a difference. When you look back, is there anything that you noticed, or was it just it was the Atlanta Wild's day and they went out and they took it?
Well, I think I first want to say that both teams had the opportunity to win, right? Like both teams earned their spot in that championship. Both teams had the strength and the power and all of the tools to win. It was going to come down to how efficiently can we perform. And they were just more efficient. Their movements were like they were just faster. Like they were just better. Like there are some things where they literally, even if we made changes, they probably would have still won that race because they just had someone that was stronger and faster. Same with like the Jack and Jill. Like they didn't send someone out, I think, because of injury. I'm not really sure. Like I don't know all the ins and outs, but we knew we could win like the back half of the races because of who we have on the team, and we just needed to dial it in, but we didn't do it efficiently enough. So I think if our efficiency was better, I had some no reps in the beginning too on like the partner forward, that could have maybe bought us some more time so we could have won that race. And I think, yeah, it's so hard because like they're such a good team, and we were also such a good team. So I think maybe I think we could have won the championship, but when it came down to it, they outperformed us in efficiency and speed and strength. Um and like as much as it sucks to like say that out loud, it's just that's the fact. Like they
Right.
earned it, and they should celebrate and they should be proud of that. Like that is, I would never take away, like, we're the first loser, second place. Um but they earned it, like period. So,
I
and
mean,
it just
as
next year we'll get it. Next year we'll get it.
as a league, like, the league is expanding and it's doing a lot of different things. There's a
Mhm.
ton of growth. Like, how could you not be jacked up for the number one seed versus the number two
Yeah.
seed in a championship? Like, that's like
Mhm.
it's a rarity that you get that, but you got that, and like that's the only thing you could ask for, is let the two best teams who have proven they're the two best teams over the course of the season go out and compete, and whoever takes it takes it. And like you said, you don't want to take anything away from either team. It's you should be proud of making it, and you definitely don't want to take away from what the Wild did, but Atlanta Wild, just know your time is numbered.
Your
People are
time
coming
is
after you.
well, and it's also for me, I look at it as we get to share the grid as athletes, right? Like you have Griffin Roel, you have Sydney Wilson, you have Amanda Fisher, and like I have mad respect for all these players, right? Because you know how hard you're working. You know they're doing the same fucking thing. Like everyone's doing it. Everyone is pushing themselves to be better. And I remember we were warming up, like doing pullovers, and I can't remember who it was from the wild, but we like swung and like our feet touched, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, your feet are just kissing." Like, oops, because when you're doing the pullovers, like you're swinging back, so it was like, "Oh shoot, what's gonna happen?" But we all had this moment of just we laughed and we were like, "Oh my god, yeah, like good luck." And we have like the fun, like your shit talking on the side, but
Yeah.
it was from everything I saw and like everything I was a part of, it was very like out of pure respect and like out of pure just like fun camaraderie and like messing around. So just being able to share the floor, and we all want this league to grow. We all want to be the best that we can be. And so I think that's something that is kind of untapped until you're on the competition floor and you're like, wow, I get to like you're watching these people move, like these big, like I'm 4'11. You see these big, like Arthur Cabral, I think that's how you say his last name. He's like 6'8". So him just standing next to me, I was like, oh my God, like my neck hurts looking up at you. But he can do things that I could never do because he's 6'8" and he's just stacked dude. So
But
yeah,
there's not a single sport out there, professional, amateur, where you have the ability to stand next to and compete with or against that same person at the same time. Like,
no, like never. Literally never. So I think this league is just it's cool. Like it is so fun to be a part of. Um like I'm very thankful. Like my team is very special to me. Like I talk to them all the time. Like I texted Sammy the other day. I'm texting Roderick. I'm texting Sydney. Like we're we're all in constant communication, and I think that's what's cool too. It's like you're able to connect virtually. And then when you get together, you're just best friends, and everyone can kind of not worry about, I don't have any kids and I'm not married. So like I don't have any of that. Like I leave the kids like my students. I'm like, thank God I get away from the ninth
yeah,
grade class for like a few days. But they leave their lives and like any woes or any stresses, like everyone's going through something, right? But when we're all together, it's like a breath of fresh air because you get to do
well,
these
you
things you have to
you
do.
get to escape from that reality of life, and you get to solely focus on really the things that you enjoy the most, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
So it's
I
different.
guess yeah, it's unique, it's special, it's fun, it's competitive, it's everything you could ask for in a professional sport and more.
Mhm.
Um, but looking at what's next, obviously, you guys came up short. What is next for you? Are you re-signing with the Sharks? Are you playing? Are you not playing? Are you like
Yeah. Well,
what's going on?
I'm just not. I can't even say it. I was gonna be like, I'm not gonna play this year. Like, obviously, I'm gonna play this year. As soon as the re-sign came in, we were all signing it. So yes, like I've re-signed with the Sharks. I don't think I said this to Sammy. I was like, I'm not retiring until you retire. And Fico was like, you're not even 30 yet. Like, you're not retiring for a long time. Um, but no, with this team, like, there isn't any other team I would want to be. I mean, if I had the opportunity and whatever, I mean, I would compete on any team for sure. But I think our team has something really special. Um, so I'm definitely a shark. I'll probably like have a shark tattoo on my body at some point in my life. Um, but yeah, so this season, back with the Sharks, I'm very excited to we're already sending videos in the chat.
It's
Um,
if you follow anybody on social media like I do, like it's getting hot out there in the grid sphere because people are starting to put together film. They're starting to put together things, and people are getting together to work on stuff. It's going to be a interesting off season, but obviously it's going to be big anticipation for the start of the 2025 season.
yeah. I'm interested to see the bandits because I don't know all of the people, I'm excited. Yeah. This is awesome. There's going to be people that have never done grid before that are coming to grid. And that's just someone else that's going to be a huge spokesperson for what we do. And so I'm excited to meet the newcomers. I'm excited for their team in general. I mean, being able to create something new, I think is awesome. So I'm interested because I know there's a lot of like shit talking from certain people, like, oh, like we're gonna crush. Like, I've never done grid, but blah blah blah. And I was like, baby, you don't even know. Like, after the first match, I don't think I could walk for 3 days. I was like, the CrossFit workouts you're doing will prepare your body and like get you there. But I do a full match run through the week, like a week and a half prior to the match. I will literally set the clock and I will go through all of my movements. And then I look at the clock. I'm like, okay, I'm only allowed to rest this amount of time. And then I do the next race. And then I wait and I do the next race. Like, that's how, after my first year, I was like, I need to do this so that I know how I'm actually going to feel after doing all these races. And I think that was something critical for me. So anyone out there want to try it, definitely helps, but you can't walk after. I mean, you have to like really prepare to.
Yeah, you're training. I mean, obviously, your everyday training with CrossFit is going to prepare you to some extent for the movements that you're going to do. But the speed at which you have to go, the timing, the rest periods, and then what it feels like when you're done, like you can't mimic that unless you do it. So intentional prescriptive training for grid is probably something that every athlete should be doing if they're not. But definitely something that you seem like is working for you. Now you mentioned Houston, all right, and I'll ask you before I let you run. The 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 evolution or the growth of the United Grid League is now expanded outside of the what was regionally the state of Florida. Now there's an Atlanta team. Now next year there's going to be a Houston team. I've talked to many people, and there's talks of another team before the start of this 2025 season. So with that expansion, you got to be excited about the growth of the league, right?
Mhm.
And for you, I always find it interesting. Like, if a team was closer to you, would that be entertaining to you to switch teams, or is it you don't feel like what the Sharks offer can be replicated?
Yeah, I would never leave. Like, if they came out with a DC team and they're like, "Oh my god, you should join," I'd be like, "Well, who are you getting?" Like,
Yeah.
are you gonna take my whole team with me? Because we can do what we do because of how we communicate. And I think, my coach would always say, it's not hard to be successful because most people quit and you can outwork the rest. So are you going to have everyone in your team is ready to outwork each other to be in that position? So no, I don't think I would. Unless it's like, hey, Southwest Florida Sharks, we're now going to be like the DC Sharks. Or, I mean, that would be a terrible name because there's no really water there. Maybe the Hippos, or no, I'm just kidding. The Colonials, that's a sore subject. Colonials. GW used to be the Colonials. We're now not the Colonials. Um,
Oh,
I just graduated with my master's degree last month. Also
nice.
from GW.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yes, I was like, I'm doing the grid league. I'm competing in CrossFit. I'm getting my master's. I'm trying to get my teaching license. I'm teaching full time. Um, I mean, those are the people I want on my team anyway. I want the people that are like, if you want something done, you give it to the busiest person, right? And all of my teammates, and I'm sure everyone in the grid league, most of them have like a full, like, car as a firefighter. And like, some people just coach CrossFit full time, but they have their own business. And, Nick owns his own wrestling gym. Like, everyone has something that they're excelling outside of the grid league. And I know that's true for every athlete in the grid league is like doing something amazing. I think that's why what we do is so cool, because a lot of the higher level CrossFit athletes, that might be the only thing they do, right? They're only in CrossFit, like that is their job. And I wish I could do that. Like, that would be great. Like, that would be amazing. I would love
Oh,
to do that all the time.
training full time?
Yeah, that would
Like,
be like,
that'd
everyone
be
wants
great.
that. That's the dream. But you got to find someone that's gonna, you know, pay for all of it.
Yeah.
Or, you get the sponsorship. So I think that's what's also cool about our league is that we're competing at such a high level while also doing all of these things. And there are so many people in CrossFit that are also doing that. Like, I will not diminish them at all. But in our league, like, I'll hear someone like Breezy's 8 months pregnant, clean and jerking like 215. Like, okay, sick. Like, just people have lives outside of it, but when they get there, it's really all about it. So no, I don't think I would leave. I would not want to. Um, what our team has is really special. And I think this year it's going to be even better than last year. I think, when you lose in that moment, that feeling doesn't go away very quickly. And we've all had those moments of failure, and failure is what leads to success for sure, right? You need to fail in order to succeed. And I think, it's not that I wanted to lose, but when you're picked to win, you don't win. How do you react to that? And that's
Yeah.
what matters. It's like, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So how do you then move forward? And I think that's why most teams, I think, was it the brigade the other day? They're like, oh, we did like a thruster challenge, and like they're training together. And like you
Yeah.
see all these people in the league already getting together because they're excited about it. And I think with the CrossFit season changing up a bit too, I'm glad it's going to be a little shorter. Personally, for a teacher, so I don't have to take off PTO. And they're like, where are you going? What is this league you're in? Like, I don't get it. And then I send them the link. They're like, oh my God. Like, my students are like, Miss Rain, I saw you on YouTube. And I'm like, oh no, I'm
Yep.
wearing like peachy shorts. My booty is out. I'm like flipping through the air. So my students have found me, which has been its own challenge, but it's cool. Everything we do is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's my little gymnast right here.
Hi.
Say hi. All right, give me 2 minutes and we'll be done.
Are you wearing an Elsa dress? Is she wearing an Elsa?
Of course she is. She's
Yeah. That's
All
funny.
right. Well, Chelsea, I will leave you with this. It seems like you guys are going to hold that bitter taste of what could have been, last year in your mouth for a little bit now, and you probably should. That way, it kind of fuels you and motivates you to get back to where you were, because it's not an easy task. And as the league expands and grows, it just becomes that much more difficult to put a regular season together like you guys did last season and make it to a championship. With the league and the amount of regular season matches, it's very hard to do, and I don't think people understand that. But you guys seem like you're ready. The fire is still there. You're not resting on your morals. You're ready to get after it. So with that, I wish you the best. I hope that the season is a successful one, and you have a obviously a healthy, injury free season. And you guys are back doing what you guys do. Fins up, right?
Fins up all the way. No injuries. The eyeball thing was scary last year. That was for sure.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. I one more thing. So
One more thing.
my wife is an optometrist, all right? And
Okay.
I shared that story with her, and
Mhm.
she nerded out on that entire story.
Oh,
She asked me so many questions, and I said, "Look, I haven't even talked to Chelsea. I have no idea what
yeah.
the ins and outs were." She was like, "Well, who was her ophthalmologist? Who was this? What did they?" And I was like, "Relax."
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, long story short, I was doing crossover double unders, and I shouldn't have been using the rope I was using. I was like, oh, I should switch. I'm like, oh, it's just one set, it's fine. And my rope, it was a speed rope, and it was like frayed at the bottom. And so I did like a few reps, and then it clipped my heel, and then it hit my face. So I cut my face and it hit my eyeball, and immediately I couldn't see. So like the blue part of my eye was red, like halfway up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's weird. And I kept like blinking, like, I can't see, like this hurts. And my roommate was there, and she's an athletic trainer. She's like, you need to go to the hospital. And I was like, well, can I just finish my workout? She's like, no, you need to go to the hospital like right now. Like
You
you need.
can't see.
I was like, oh, it's fine. I just have some whatever. So I go to the hospital. They like do a scan. They're like, okay, there's no damage behind the eye, but sleep sitting up, go to this optometrist. And I went to this guy out in Leesburg, and he was like, your eye pressure is like, it was like 28 or 30. He was like, you can't go to work for a week. So I literally was on bed rest. I couldn't go to work for a week. And I kept going back every single day. And he would check the pressure and do all this stuff. But he was like, oh, it's getting worse. Like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm literally not doing anything. Like, there's no way it's getting worse. Absolutely not. So then I switched to another lady. So I couldn't see for 3 weeks. And after a month of going back to this guy and paying like hundreds of dollars, my friend was like, why are you going out there? You should go to my lady's great. Like, and it happened to be my college coach's daughter's best friend's practice. And she was like, oh my God, I used to watch you, blah, blah. She does like a full in-depth scan. She does the eye pressure. She was like, your eye pressure is pretty low. Like it was around like a 15. So it went from being 35 or like 40 the day before to 15. So I was like, what was this guy doing? Random. And so she's like, you can slowly start to work out. So like for 2 months, I was only allowed to walk. Like they're like, you can't do anything but walk. And I'm like, shoot, we start grid and like, I only trained, I think for 2.5 or 3 weeks before the first match. Like I'd only been allowed to train like full go for that amount of time. But yeah, I couldn't do anything for about 2 months. And then like knock on, I don't have any like long-term damage, which is great. But yeah, the jump rope, just, be careful.
What are the odds?
Like
They
so,
have to be just astronomical for it to, like, not to hit your face, obviously, because
yeah.
I think people have had that happen, but like to hit you in the eye where you're not blinking and it just catches you at the right, like,
I'm very spiritual and I'm into my faith. And I was like, all right, God, like, what's up? Like, what did I do? Right. You start to think like everything, I really believe everything happens for a reason. And I think at that point, I just switched careers. I was financially really struggling. Like I could not, like paying rent was hard. I started Uber Eats driving. I started doing like anything under the sun just to like make sure I could pay my bills. And so I think that was a really good opportunity for me to just slow down, take a second, and get myself in a position where I could be more successful, like as an athlete, financially, just be in a better position. And so I'm very thankful for that time. But now when there's days when I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do this workout, I'm like, hey, remember when you had to sit in your room in the dark for a week? Yeah, like go. Like you're not allowed
yeah.
to feel sorry for yourself. Like get up off your ass and like make it happen. So
It's
yeah,
you could think of, I mean, 2 months of no activity or low to minimal activity is like a death sentence, but,
yeah,
you were able to see, like, the glass half full is like, "Alright, well, maybe this is a sign of something telling me I need to slow down and start let me focus on something else."
yeah,
Because what tends to happen, especially as you get busy, you start not being able to put 100% on any one thing, and you start giving 60% to a lot of things, and it's
mhm.
just not good for any of it. So
No,
you slow down and you eliminate some of those things, and you end up being more productive and better at those things. So, for you, obviously you're back to kicking ass, which is where you want to be, no issues, thankfully, and
thank.
maybe those double under crossovers, hey,
I wore sunglasses or rec specs, I think, for the first 3 months after, because I was just so scared.
just go to the science lab at school and grab
Just
some science goggles, and those will be
laughing at me, but I was like, listen, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like that was just, it was scary when the guy was like, you could go permanently blind in your eye, like you can't do it. Because I was like, can I still compete in quarters, or like what would happen? He's like, you'll go blind. I was like, okay, maybe I won't. Like it's not worth it. Like
yeah,
72 hours of doing fitness is not worth losing your vision over.
not
Um,
at all.
but yeah, it was definitely, I did not take it well at first. I think everyone, if anyone is listening to this, I'm so sorry. I was really just, you're so sad because it's like everything I had worked really hard. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go for quarters this year. I haven't done quarterfinals in 2 years because I did team and then I couldn't because of my job. And I was like, this is my year to like show that I belong in some sense for myself. And when that was quote unquote taken away, I just was really sad and just not myself. Like I'm a very bubbly, outgoing person. And even my roommate was like, I need you to like, I'm gonna get you a vitamin D lamp. Like I need you to be happier. Like you are just so negative. And I've never, we can all be negative. This one guy I coach, like when he says something negative out loud, he looks at me, he's like, Debbie, not today, Debbie. So it was really hard. Anyone that goes through an injury, like you start to doubt everything and you question why things happen. But as my one former college teammate used to say, she would say, stop saying why me and start saying try me. Like something happens to you, like, all right, is that all you got? I can handle that. So it's hard. If anyone has an injury and wants to talk about it or they need help, I'm always here to help other people in any way that I can. But it's tough. It's definitely tough.
Yeah, it's not life isn't easy. And then when you throw things out of your control at you, it's becomes a game of balancing and juggling and
Yeah.
you've got to have motivation, and sometimes it comes internally and sometimes it comes from people, saying, look, stop feeling sorry about yourself. Like you're better than that. And, everybody
Yeah.
needs that from time to time. But
Yeah. I mean, I've been
Chel-
working with this guy, Ryan. His name's Ryan Small. I work with Wes Peters. He's a Mayhem athlete now
Mhm.
for programming. And even like a few weeks ago, Ryan's like, I don't want to hear anything negative come out of your mouth. Like, we're working today. And sometimes I'm like, God, you're so mean to me. But I was like, no, you're just being honest. Like, it's good. And so just keeping those people around you that keep you honest and all those things, it's good. But it's got to keep going.
Yep. Keep plugging away. Well, Chelsea, I'm going to let you run. I appreciate your time. Obviously, busy person. Got a lot going on. Got to continue to mold the youth of America. It's
Yes.
very noble
Thank
profession. You got to love it. And if there's anything I can do, anything that you need to plug or promote, like you could throw that out there now if you want.
Plug or promote. Oh my gosh. There's so many things I could plug and promote, but I'm just going to say for anyone who is listening to this, if you have ever considered joining the Grid League, do it. Even like do the trials, like send in videos, see what you got, because you just never know what could happen for you. And I that's all I just want to push. The Grid League is literally the best. Like I'm very thankful for all my sponsors. Like I had a bunch of sponsors this year, like PG Athletics, both gyms that I compete for, Mill Street CrossFit in Vienna and Boston CrossFit in Boston, Arlington. Like the members, the owners of those gyms are the reason why I was able to do what I do. And I'm so glad I could proudly represent both of them this year. Push Up Chalk was out there with me. Also great when you're traveling because I don't carry chalk with me anymore after COVID. A lot of gyms don't. So like having push up chalk is awesome. Herd Athletics, who is like a weightlifting belt. We just had a drop comp the other week that we got second. I'm like number
Oh,
two. Also, I'm number two this season because I'm not going to be number two anymore. Because it's like every comp I've done in the last few years, like second place, second place, second place, and everyone's like,
I will be 3 before I
I'm
be 2
three
again.
before I'm two again. Um, but yeah, Herd Athletics sponsoring our whole team and like their weightlifting belts, and John is amazing. Thick Boy Athletics has been out there. Mark Short, he's an incredible, kind person, and really like my friend Anthony, he owns Stutter Media. He's been killing it with the media game recently. And he always is like, hey, like, I have this company. I want to do this with you. And like, always is ready to take photos. He took my graduation photos because I never had them. So Anthony, you're awesome too. So it's more just the people and community. Wouldn't be able to do what I do without all of them, with my friends and family. And so thank you.
You need to go to your optometrist and your ophthalmologist and be like, look, I just gave y'all big time PR. Like, how about some sponsorships? I could, like if
Really,
this ain't a story of success, come on now. You know,
yeah.
I I
Yeah.
would definitely, blow you up a poster, sign it, take it over there and be like, look, like this is what you need to bring folks through the door right here.
Yeah.
No, but Chelsea, I appreciate your time. Obviously, if there's anything we can do for you along the way, hey, reach out, and who knows? At the end of 2025, maybe we're talking about another all-star and maybe a grid league champion. Who knows?
That's what's
Hopefully
coming.
not number 2, though.
Definitely not number 2.
All right, that's Chelsea Raineri, everybody. If you like hearing Chelsea's story or you just like hearing us average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook, retweet us on X, listen and subscribe wherever you stream your podcast. As always, comments, ratings, feedback, thumbs up, hearts, hugs, love. We'll take it all. We'll see everybody tomorrow. I'm wrapping up the week with Reese Lyons of the Palm Beach Breakers. This has been the In Off the Bench podcast, Grid and Grind show. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grid and grind all the time. We are out.